Man, the streets been talkin', the music been speakin', and if you know Memphis rap, you know this ain't just some petty beef, it's a full-on clash of legends. Yo Gotti, the Memphis kingpin with the hustler's mind and a mouth that don't hold back, versus 3-6 Mafia, the pioneers who put the city on the map, made the city bleed their sound, and don't nobody forget what they built. This ain't just rap drama, it's history, respect, loyalty, betrayal, and pride all tangled up in beats and bars. People been askin', how the hell did it get this far? And the truth is, it been simmerin' for years, quiet smoke in the backstreets, hints in interviews, jabs in songs, little digs that stack up till the powder keg explode. See, Yo Gotti came up hard, real hard, corner to corner, block to block, grindin' before cameras, before the labels, before the fame. He repped that Memphis grit, the new school that came after legends. And 3-6 Mafia? Man, they the OGs, the ones who made the city bleed purple and gold, who made Memphis a name on the map in a time when nobody gave a damn about the South. They built the lanes that cats like Gotti roll in now. But respect in this game? It's fragile like glass in a storm. One wrong move, one diss track, one handshake that ain't right, and it all crumble. And that's exactly what's happening here. The streets whisper, the fans argue, and the music? It don't lie. Bars loaded with shots, lyrics dripping with shade, social media fans fueling the fire like gasoline on a spark. This beef? It ain't just about money, it ain't just about fame. It's about legacy, pride, and who really owns Memphis. So buckle up, cause we about to dive deep into how Yo Gotti and 3-6 Mafia went from mutual respect to this full-blown showdown, and trust, the story got layers you ain't even imagine. Yo, let's start from the bottom, from the roots, where Memphis rap wasn't no game for the weak. Back in the day, the city was rough, streets hot, corners full of hustlers trying to make a name. You had pockets of talent everywhere, but the ones that really stood out were the ones who had that edge, that hunger. 3-6 Mafia, they were that edge. DJ Paul, Juicy J, Lord Infamous, Crunchy Black. They weren't just rappers, they were the architects of the Memphis sound. They had that dark, sinister vibe, beats that made you feel like the streets themselves were breathing down your neck, lyrics that didn't sugarcoat nothing. They came up in the 90s, carving a lane nobody thought existed, making the South scary in a rap game that had been dominated by New York and LA. They built a reputation that demanded respect, and that respect came with power, influence, and the ability to make or break careers in the city. You felt them in the streets even if you never heard a track. Now, fast forward a bit and you got Yo Gotti. Born Mario Mims, he didn't inherit the game, he built it brick by brick. You want to talk about grind? This cat was out there before mixtapes, before the label deals, hustling on the corners, making moves that most folks would never even think to attempt. Gotti's energy was different. He had that street polish, that sharpness, that ability to survive and thrive in a city where loyalty was everything, but betrayal was everywhere. He came up in the early 2000s, right when Memphis rap was transitioning, and the OGs like 3-6 Mafia were still holding the keys. But every king has a challenge, and every city got that one cat who's ready to take the crown, even if it means stepping on toes. Gotti wasn't just hungry, he was ruthless with his ambition, and the streets respected that. But respect from the OGs? That's a whole different hustle. Here's where things start to get messy. At first, Gotti showed love. He talked about 3-6 Mafia in interviews, showed appreciation for the doors they opened, the moves they made, the blueprint they left behind. But respect don't pay bills and ambition don't care about feelings. The streets are quick to notice when one cat's shine starts getting brighter than another's. Fans, journalists, and even insiders began to whisper, Gotti's rise was fast, too fast maybe, and some of the old heads weren't feeling it. They say the first sign of beef is when someone starts claiming a throne they ain't been given yet, and that's when subtle digs start showing up in lyrics, in social media, in interviews where nobody's directly calling names but everybody knows who they talking about. Now, the real ignition came with collaborations and label moves. Yo Gotti was signing artists, moving units, and building an empire under the Collective Music Group banner. The thing is, 3-6 Mafia already had the clout, the history, the brand, and the influence over the city's music scene. When Gotti started to levitate his roster, taking spots and attention that could have gone to the OGs, it stirred something in the Memphis air. You could feel the tension in the shows, in the radio interviews, even in the streets where people who knew both sides were watching like hawks. The city of Memphis, it don't forget and it don't let disrespect slide. And here's the twist. What Gotti was building wasn't just a label, it was a movement. And when you challenge a movement, especially one built by legends, that's when things get ugly fast. Let's talk influence. 3-6 Mafia weren't just rappers, they were culture. They put Memphis on the map in ways Gotti would later benefit from. From crunk to horrorcore, They had a sound that was instantly recognizable, a presence that couldn't be ignored. But time changes everything. Younger artists like Gotti started blending the old sound with new school hustle, and suddenly what was once homage became competition. It's the classic street scenario. There's room for one king, but when a new player comes with the same hunger, the streets start whispering, alliances shift, and beef is born from ambition more than hate. And in Memphis that's amplified. Everyone knows everyone, every move is watched, and disrespect travels faster than a rumor on social media. Then came the subtle shots in music. You know how this game works, disses aren't always direct. It's lines, bars, tones, even beats that send messages without saying a name. Gotti's lyrics started getting sharper, more confrontational in ways that some insiders interpreted as jabs at the old guard. The Mafia, being the veterans, noticed. They didn't respond immediately because they knew patience is power. But the fans started connecting dots, bars, tweets, visuals. Everything started pointing to a simmering tension nobody wanted to name publicly yet. It's that unspoken war where respect, pride, and legacy are all on the line, and the streets love it because it's real, raw, and ruthless. Now you gotta understand the stakes. For 3-6 Mafia, this isn't just about a song or two, it's about what they built. For Gotti, it's about cementing dominance in the city and beyond. The clash wasn't a sudden explosion. It was years in the making, a combination of ambition, timing, and the unforgiving nature of Memphis streets. Every handshake, every nod at a show, every label move was under scrutiny. Everybody around them knew the tension, but out loud, respect was still being mentioned. That's classic street code. Never show weakness, never admit the heat until it's unavoidable. And the streets? They love a story like this. Fans started picking sides. Old heads riding with 3-6 Mafia, new school hustlers riding with Gotti. Social media amplified everything, interviews dissected for hidden meanings, concerts watched for body language, lyrics studied line by line. It's chess, not checkers. And in this game, one wrong move could blow up everything. Everyone watching knew the tension was more than music. It was pride, influence, and legacy all tangled up. And you know how Memphis does it? The streets always demand respect first. But there's more. This beef wasn't just local, it had ripple effects. Other artists, labels, and even fans outside Memphis began to notice. Collaborations that could have happened didn't. Shows where everyone used to appear together now felt tense. Radio interviews were loaded with subtle digs. Industry insiders whispered about power moves behind the scenes. The Mafia's influence meant doors could close for Gotti, but Gotti's rise meant the new wave of Memphis rap was changing the landscape, creating opportunities the OGs couldn't control. And that's when the real grind begins, not just in the studio but in the streets, the label boardrooms, and the social media battlefield where influence is power. Two Memphis forces, each with their own legacy and ambition, circling each other, respect mixed with tension, loyalty tested, and pride on the line. This ain't a simple beef. It's a story of ambition, timing, history, and the unforgiving rules of street respect. And trust, this is just the beginning. So now we deep in the game, streets watching, fans talking, and you can feel the tension thick in the Memphis air. Yo Gotti been klimbin', making moves, and everywhere he step, you feel the eyes of 3-6 Mafia on him. Not because they hate him yet, nah, it's more complicated than that. It's about the lanes, the respect, the throne they feel he's trying to touch. The Mafia, they built Memphis from the mud up. They made it sound dangerous, they made it profitable, they made it legendary. And Gotti? He's a young cat with a vision, a hustle that don't sleep, and he's making moves that sometimes look like disrespect, even if it ain't intended that way. See, the streets don't forgive ambiguity. If you rise too fast, if your shine gets too bright, if people start calling you the new king, then the old king gotta respond, even if it's subtle. That's the unwritten code in Memphis. And Gotti was klimbin' at warp speed. Mixtapes, street singles, club bangers, radio spins, it was like he was everywhere at once. Fans loved it, but the Mafia? They were watching the throne they built with a cold eye. Not all tension comes from hate. Sometimes it comes from pride. From knowing you earned something and seeing someone else step on it before they even ask permission. That's exactly what was happening. Now let's talk about influence. Gotti's move with CMG wasn't just about getting rich, it was about consolidating power. Signing new artists, making waves, moving units, and creatine, a brand that could rival the OGs in clout. It was smart, calculated, street-smart strategy. But to some in the streets, it looked like a challenge. You gotta understand, Memphis rap ain't just music, it's politics, power, and legacy all wrapped in hood energy. And when a new cat starts maneuvering like he's claiming territory, Even unintentionally, the old heads take notice. The first real spark started in the visuals. Gotti's music videos, flashy moves, his team posted shots that had subtle nods, locations that were historically tied to 3 6 Mafia's influence. Some fans saw it as homage, some saw it as shade. The OGs noticed. That subtle tension, that unspoken "who's running this city now" energy, it's contagious. Everybody around Memphis could feel it. Industry insiders, DJs, promoters, even street-level hustlers. It's like the whole city held its breath, waiting to see who'd make the first real move. And the tracks? Yo, the bars started getting sharper. Not full-on dices, but lines that made you pause, squint, and think. Is he talking about them? That's how street beef brews, cryptic, loaded, and heavy with intent. Gotti's lyrics had that confidence, that claim to the throne energy, while the Mafia's old-school style carried the weight of legacy and authority. It's like a chess match with words, beats, and visuals, and every move counted. Even a nod in a video, a look in an interview, a shout-out in a verse. It could be interpreted 100 ways. Social media made it worse. Fans dissected every post, every comment, every flex. Street eyes online are just as sharp as the ones in the block. They caught every little thing, posted screenshots, debated who was sly dissing who. Suddenly, what was simmering quietly in the streets was a full-blown conversation in the public eye. And that's how beef amplifies now. It's not just physical, it's digital. The streets talk, the internet talks, and soon the two collide. But there's more than just music and online chatter. There's the history. 3 6 Mafia had beefs of their own back in the day, scars from rivalries, lessons learned the hard way. They didn't rush into confrontations. Patience was part of the power play. They know when to strike, when to let a young cat rise just enough before showing him the respect he earned or the boundaries he crossed. Gotti, on the other hand, comes from the new school: grind hard, shine fast, don't wait for permission. That clash of mentality is what fueled this tension. It's a generational conflict as much as it is a street one. At this point, collaborations started to get messy. Artists who were close to Gotti or 3 6 Mafia felt the tension. Tracks that could have been hits didn't happen. Studio sessions had quiet energy, and even promoters felt the unease. People in the city knew there was a line, an invisible boundary that was being tested. Memphis is tight-knit and everyone talks. When you cross that line, intentionally or not, the repercussions are immediate, even if subtle at first. And let's not sleep on the shows. Gotti's performances were drawing big crowds, new energy, new fans. 3 6 Mafia still had clout, still had history, but seeing a younger cat take over stages, headline events, and make the city follow his moves, that hit a nerve. It's the classic street tension, respect versus ambition. And Memphis fans, man, they feed off it. They're the fuel, the judges, and the amplifiers. Every concert, every club appearance, every track drop, it added to the pressure cooker. The music press started noticing too. Interviews where Gotti mentioned the city, the grind, the hustle, interpreted as subtle shots at the OGs. Juicy J and DJ Paul kept cool publicly, but insiders knew they were watching. It's classic Memphis: let the young blood make the first move, observe, and then respond with precision. The streets respect that. You never jump too early. You wait for the energy to peak, and when it does, you strike, not with disrespect but with authority. Meanwhile, Gotti's movement continued to grow. CMG wasn't just a label, it was a force. His roster was expanding, collaborations were stacking, and his influence in Memphis rap was undeniable. But every step forward was observed by the Mafia camp. They weren't just watching the music, they were watching business, branding, and street credibility. The tension was layered. Pride, respect, influence, money, legacy, it all mixed into this volatile cocktail that could spill over at any moment. And the streets kept talking. Bars on tracks interpreted as shots, social media posts that hinted at shade, subtle jabs in interviews, it all built up. But nobody wanted an outright war yet. Memphis respect is strange. It's about showing control, patience, and wisdom. Strike too early and you look desperate. Wait too long and the new school might claim the throne. Both sides knew the balance was delicate, and that made the tension almost unbearable for those watching. By now, the simmering conflict had started to influence other Memphis artists. Alliances formed quietly, whispers in the clubs, conversations in studios, deals being reconsidered. Everyone in the city knew this beef was more than music. It was power, influence, and legacy. Fans picked sides, debates heated up online, and suddenly what started as subtle tension became a city-wide narrative. Every track drop, every interview, every appearance was analyzed for hidden meaning. Memphis had a full-blown chessboard and every move mattered. The streets don't forget and they don't forgive ambiguity. Respect is currency, pride is wealth, and history is power. Yo Gotti and 3-6 Mafia were playing the long game, each move calculated, each glance scrutinized, each lyric dissected. And the streets, they loved it. They thrive on realness, on tension, on watching two forces with history and ambition collide. This ain't just music, it's survival, legacy, and dominance all wrapped in bars and beats. And that's where we leave it for this stretch. Tension thick, respect fragile, ambitions clashing, and the streets watching like hawks. Memphis ain't just a city, it's a battlefield of sound, influence, and pride. And Yo Gotti vs 3-6 Mafia is the storm nobody can ignore. The sparks have been struck, but the fire? That's coming. Things start getting heavier now. The streets aren't just whispering anymore, they're straight up talking, and the tension that simmered for years? It's now visible in the air, in the shows, in the music. Yo Gotti's rise had hit a point where nobody could ignore it. CMG was strong, his roster was loaded, and everywhere he went, it felt like a takeover. Clubs packed, radio spins non-stop, collaborations with artists that used to ride with the Mafia. It was all adding fuel to a fire that nobody in Memphis could control. And the Mafia? They were calm on the surface, but underneath, the old blood was simmering. You can't build an empire and watch someone try to step in on your turf without feeling that edge. That's street code, that's respect, that's pride, and Gotti was testing it whether he knew it or not. Subtlety was over. People started noticing the digs, the tones, the visuals and videos. One track here, one lyric there, even a pose in a photo could be interpreted as shade. Memphis fans dissected every move like it was scripture. And social media? Oh, it amplified everything tenfold. A line that might have gone unnoticed years ago now spread across feeds, debated, analyzed, memed, and argued about. The streets were alive with speculation. Who's winning, who's disrespecting, who's making the wrong move. And in this city, the wrong move isn't just embarrassment, it can cost credibility, alliances, and sometimes more. Gotti, being the street-savvy hustler he is, didn't shy away from it. He leaned into the heat. His visuals got bolder, his lyrics sharper, and his brand stronger. He wasn't just building a label, he was building a movement, a new Memphis, a new order where the young bloods could rise without needing permission. But every rise threatens the throne, and that's exactly what it did. 3-6 Mafia, OGs with decades of influence, watched closely. They knew patience is a weapon and pride is armor, but seeing a young cat move like he owns the streets? That stinks. And then the whispers in the clubs and studios got louder. Artists close to both camps started taking sides, alliances forming quietly. Deals that should have been easy were delayed, collaborations postponed, shows rearranged. Everybody in Memphis knows everybody else. The city is small in the rap world, but every move echoes like a shot. The tension wasn't just in the music, it was in the business, the networking, and the politics. Every handshake was weighed, every nod analyzed, and every compliment questioned. It's street chess at its purest. Now let's talk legacy. 3-6 Mafia wasn't just an artist collective, they were a movement. They defined Memphis rap in ways that nobody else had. Crunk, horrorcore, trap, they were the blueprint. Every bar, every beat, every video had that signature dark, gritty Memphis flavor. That legacy demanded respect, and it's not something you just hand over. Gotti respected it, publicly at least, but his ambition didn't care about public niceties. Ambition sees opportunity, and Memphis is a city where opportunity comes with competition. The streets knew it, the OGs knew it, and Gotti played his hand accordingly. The first real sparks of confrontation came through the music. Not overt disses, but lines that carried weight, lines that made people stop and listen. Gotti's lyrics weren't shy, they had edge, confidence, and sometimes that subtle jab that makes the listener think twice. 3-6 Mafia noticed. They responded in kind, not with immediate aggression, but with reminders of legacy, influence, and power. That's how street wars play out, they're not always explosive at first. They simmer, they build, and when the energy peaks, it's unstoppable. Street loyalty became a factor too. Fans started aligning, debating, arguing, and sometimes clashing. Old heads rode with the Mafia, younger fans gravitated to Gotti. Memphis, small as it is, felt divided. It wasn't violent yet, not publicly, but the tension was palpable. Shows became battlegrounds in subtle ways. Every appearance, every performance, every shout-out was scrutinized. Who smiled at who? Who ignored who? Who claimed what neighborhood? It's micropolitics with macro consequences, and in a city like Memphis, nothing stays small for long. Social media kept the heat alive. Every post, every comment, every story was dissected. Lines were read literally between lines. Fans debated who was disrespecting who, and the debate fueled the narrative. Online, the beef grew bigger than the city. Memes, clips, snippets of interviews, they spread like wildfire. The pressure on both camps increased, because now the eyes of the streets weren't enough. The internet was watching too, and that's a whole different kind of accountability. It wasn't just about music anymore, it was about business. Gotti's moves with CMG meant signing artists, releasing tracks, building a roster. That roster was gaining traction, taking opportunities that could have been open to the Mafia's affiliates. It's classic street tension. When the young blood steps into space that the OGs once dominated, conflicts are inevitable. 3-6 Mafia knew it, but they also knew restraint was power. Patience is deadly in the streets. Let a cat rise, watch his moves, and then you decide when to strike. The real blow came with public perception. Memphis fans began framing narratives. Gotti's taking over, Mafia still the legends, who's really running this city? Opinions spread fast. Street respect is currency and perception is everything. Gotti's rise challenged the Mafia's narrative of dominance. The OGs had history, influence, and respect. Gotti had momentum, energy, and ambition. Clash was inevitable. Rumors started floating about meetings, conversations behind closed doors, calls made to maintain influence, artists being warned. Memphis streets are like that, news travels and nobody stays neutral. Every camp had eyes, ears, and contacts reporting back. It's like war, but silent, tactical, and every move counts. Gotti's camp felt the pressure. The Mafia's camp calculated every response. It was strategy layered over pride, and the streets soaked it all in. Concerts became symbolic battlegrounds. Where Gotti performed, crowds were hyped, energy high, showing loyalty to the new wave. Where Mafia members performed, nostalgia and history dominated. Memphis fans, loyal to both sides, felt torn, and every performance became a statement. It's the kind of tension that the city eats up, real, raw, and unavoidable. By now the beef had evolved. Not just music, not just street chatter, not just social media, it was influence, legacy, pride, business, and survival all tangled together. Memphis, small and tight-knit, had become a pressure cooker. Every handshake, every nod, every track drop was more than just entertainment. It was strategy, statement, and staking territory. Gotti vs 3-6 Mafia wasn't just a feud anymore. It was a story about who controls the city's sound, its culture, and its streets. The heat was undeniable. Respect was fragile. Pride was front and center. And while neither side had gone fully public with confrontation, the streets knew, the simmering tension was real, and it was only a matter of time before sparks turned into flames. Memphis had a showdown brewing, a collision of history and ambition, and the city was watching with bated breath. Every move mattered now. Every lyric mattered. Every collaboration, every post, every public appearance carried weight. Yo Gotti's ambition pushed him forward, but it also painted a target on his back. 3-6 Mafia's legacy demanded defense, and in Memphis that defense isn't always verbal. It's felt in influence, alliances, and timing. The chessboard was set, pieces moving, and the next moves were critical. By the end of this phase, the streets had spoken silently but clearly. Gotti was rising, Mafia still commanded respect, and Memphis had itself a real, living, breathing narrative that had nothing to do with fiction. This beef was authentic, rooted in history, ambition, and the unforgiving rules of street respect. And the flames? They were about to catch higher. By now, the energy in Memphis was electric, like the city itself knew something major was about to pop off. Yo Gotti's rise had reached a point where it wasn't just a rumor anymore. He was a force to be reckoned with, a king in his own right, moving units, filling clubs, and building an empire with CMG that nobody could ignore. 3-6 Mafia, the OGs who laid the foundation, weren't blind to it. They saw the shift, felt the tension in the streets, and knew that a new wave was trying to claim the throne they had fought to hold for decades. This wasn't just a beef over bars or beats. This was about legacy, influence, and power, and the streets in Memphis respected that kind of war more than anything else. The subtle jabs had turned sharper. Music videos, interviews, social media posts, they all carried meaning. Gotti wasn't holding back his ambition, and the Mafia wasn't backing down from their authority. Every verse, every shout-out, every camera angle was analyzed by fans and insiders alike. The streets were dissecting the moves like a chess game. Who was threatening who had the upper hand, who was making the next play. And Gotti? He was playing it smart, never too reckless, but always letting the energy feel the pressure. The key to his rise wasn't just talent, it was strategy. He understood the politics of Memphis rap, the power moves, and how to make history while keeping the streets watching. Collaborations that could have united the two camps didn't happen. Artists close to both sides started taking subtle stances, either publicly or behind the scenes. That tension extended to clubs, radio interviews, and studio sessions. Even promoters and DJs felt it. Memphis is small. News travels fast, and when two major forces clash, everyone in the city feels the ripple. Every handshake, every nod, every compliment was scrutinized. The balance was delicate, and every move carried consequences. Legacy became a weapon. 3-6 Mafia's history wasn't just respect, it was power. They had influence over the city's music scene, street credibility, and fans who revered their name. Gotti's rise threatened that power, not out of malice, but because ambition doesn't ask permission. It pushes forward regardless of history, loyalty, or politics. That clash of old versus new, history versus ambition, created a tension that could only escalate. Every lyric Gotti dropped felt like a statement. Every response from the Mafia reminded the streets that legacy still mattered. The streets weren't passive observers, they were active participants. Fans debated online, in clubs, and on the block. Who had the right to claim Memphis? Who was really running the city's music game? Old heads held on to nostalgia, younger fans rode with Gotti. The digital age amplified the tension. Every post, every comment, every story carried weight, dissected line by line. Rumors of meetings, private conversations, and strategic moves circulated. Memphis was alive with speculation, and the pressure on both camps intensified. Performances became symbolic battlegrounds. Yo Gotti shows packed clubs, creating new energy and showing loyalty to the new wave. 3-6 Mafia's performances reminded the city of history, dominance, and influence. Fans felt torn, and every concert became a stage for subtle competition. The energy wasn't just entertainment, it was territory, pride, and a test of loyalty. Memphis thrives on that realness, and both sides understood that perception mattered as much as talent. Business moves added fuel to the fire. Gotti's label, CMG, continued to grow, signing talent and creating opportunities that rivaled or even surpassed what the Mafia could offer. That influence wasn't just in music, it was in the streets, in studios, and in neighborhoods that respected hustle above all else. Every move Gotti made challenged the established order, and every step the Mafia took reminded the streets that legacy still mattered. Pride, influence, and respect became intertwined with business, creating a battlefield that went beyond music. The media amplified everything. Interviews, articles, and social media debates spread the narrative outside Memphis, giving outsiders a front-row seat to the clash. But Memphis insiders knew it was more than hype, it was real. Behind closed doors, alliances shifted, deals were delayed, and studio collaborations were reconsidered. The city was watching, and the pressure on both camps grew with every public appearance. Every lyric mattered, every shot counted, and every move could tip the balance of power. Social media turned subtle tension into public spectacle. Fans took sides, dissected interviews, and analyzed every lyric. The beef grew beyond the city's borders, reaching audiences who were intrigued by the authenticity of the story. But while the internet amplified the conflict, the streets dictated the rules. Memphis respect is earned, not given, and both Gotti and 3-6 Mafia understood that. Every move was strategic, every interaction calculated, and every lyric carefully measured. Rumors of confrontation began surfacing. Nothing violent, not yet, but whispers of meetings, phone calls, and strategy sessions spread through the city. Memphis streets operate on intel, and both camps had eyes and ears everywhere. Every handshake, every nod, every track release became a calculated move. The tension wasn't just in the music, it was in business, in networking, and in the perception of power. Concerts, music releases, and social media became a battlefield of influence. Gotti's rising star challenged the Mafia's dominance, creating a silent war of ambition versus legacy. Fans debated, insiders watched, and the streets waited for the next move. Every lyric, every video, and every appearance became a piece in the chess game. Memphis, small as it is, felt the ripples everywhere, from the club corners to studio sessions. The stakes were high. Gotti's rise was undeniable, but the Mafia's history demanded respect. Memphis fans, insiders, and artists watched closely, understanding that this wasn't just entertainment, it was a test of dominance, ambition, and legacy. Every move carried weight, and both sides knew that patience, strategy, and influence were just as important as the music. By now, the beef had become a citywide narrative. Gotti vs 3-6 Mafia wasn't just a rivalry, it was a story about who controlled Memphis rap, who had influence in the streets, and whose legacy would define the city for the next generation. The tension was palpable, and every track, performance and public appearance added fuel to the fire. Memphis had a real showdown brewing, and the streets were watching every move. The energy reached a point where the streets could feel it physically. Conversations in studios, clubs, and on corners revolved around who was winning, who was being disrespected, and what the next move would be. Gotti's ambition and the Mafia's legacy created a perfect storm of tension, loyalty, and pride. Every interaction mattered, every lyric was analyzed, and every move could tip the scales. The clash was no longer just music, it was power, influence, and survival. Memphis' respect, history, and pride all played a role, and both camps understood the stakes. Fans, artists, and insiders were invested in every development. The city watched, debated, and speculated, knowing that the next chapter could change the game forever. Every move, every post, every collaboration, and every track was a statement. Gotti's ambition challenged the Mafia's dominance, while the Mafia's legacy reminded the streets of the power and history they commanded. Memphis rap had become a battlefield, and this was a war of influence, respect, and ambition. By the end of this phase, the streets knew one thing for certain. Yo Gotti vs. 3-6 Mafia was more than music, it was history, legacy, ambition, and pride all colliding. Memphis had a real narrative, a story that would be remembered, debated, and analyzed for years to come. And the fire that started as subtle tension was now ready to ignite fully. Yo, now that you've seen the streets, the history, the legacy, and the ambition collide, don't just sit there, get involved in the conversation. Memphis rap ain't just music, it's culture, it's pride, it's the grind, and now you know the full story behind Yo Gotti vs. 3-6 Mafia. Whether you ride with the OGs who built the city or the new king making waves, this beef is bigger than bars. It's about respect, influence, and who really controls the Memphis streets. If you felt the heat in this story, if you see the loyalty, the ambition, the power plays, then make your voice heard. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let us know which side you're riding with. Don't sleep on the debate, share it with your people, bring it to the streets, let the world see Memphis for what it really is. A city where legacy and ambition clash like fire and gasoline. And don't forget to subscribe, because the streets don't rest, and neither do we. More stories, more heat, more inside looks at the rap game and the hustlers shaping it. Right here every week. Keep your ears open, your eyes sharp, and stay tuned, because the next chapter in this beef, it's coming, and trust, it's gonna be legendary.